Welcome to the Principal Podcast, where we talk about how the best professional services firms grow. Whether you're looking to scale your firm or learn from the stories of founders and leaders who've done it, you're in the right place. Join us as we interview the best leaders in professional services. Let's get on with the show.
Good morning, everyone. Today, we're lucky to have Yuriy Margolin on. He is the CEO of Moving Sales Professional and also the podcast, Let's Talk Moving. He specializes in helping moving companies increase their sales, work on their operations, and more importantly, provide a better customer experience. So Yuriy, tell me, how did you get involved in this business?
Well, surprisingly enough, so I was in the world of fundraising for a very long time. So I was
Okay.
doing sales, and I was roughly about 17, 18 years old. I didn't do any sales or anything like that in the beginning. When I started, I was working for a company that was doing fundraising for nonprofits. So we did
Okay.
work with companies like Sierra Club and Smithsonian and Kennedy
Okay.
Center, Whitman Walker Clinic, on and on and on and on.
Right.
Various Democratic related companies like DCCC and DSCC. We did some work for the
Okay.
Heritage Foundation, on and on and on and on. And basically, there were things that we needed to say, but we definitely had room for some creativity in terms of things we were saying to people. So, frankly, when you talk to people and you're asking someone that gave a $50 contribution to Sierra Club once to contribute 100,000, obviously that's quite a big jump. And I
It's a big
found
jump.
yeah, and I found early on that I was very good at it and I was convincing and what have you. And I was very good at what I did. I took pride in what I did because I felt like those charities and those organizations did good work. And then at one point, I ended up moving to California. I went to school for theater. I was actually a theater major. So I went to American
Where in
Musical.
California? LA?
Los Angeles, yeah. I went to American Musical and Dramatic Academy. For those of you that are familiar, it's catty corner from Capitol Records right there on
Oh my
Yucca
God.
Street. So I was there. I was there for about a year. And while I was there, I needed work, and I wasn't working for that nonprofit anymore. So I ended up walking into an interview for a moving company. So we did some work for a moving company, and they hired me. It was 2003. They were paying me $8 an hour, and they paid me either 10 or $15 for every single job I booked. But this was 2003,
Yeah.
very profitable time to be in sales. Lots of people moving, lots of money going around, and I was very good. And frankly, going from asking somebody for $100,000 to simply setting up a service, setting up a move for somebody
Right.
was nothing, was a walk in the park for me. So I was on top of my $8 an hour for a 10-hour day, $80, right? Nothing to be happy about. I was also scheduling about 10 to 20 jobs every single day that I worked. So
Wow.
at one point, the moving company decided that they paid me too much money, so I got fired. And then some guys that used to work for the same company ended up opening their own, and I did some sales there. And then eventually I decided that I wanted to go back home. I grew up in Pittsburgh, so I went back to Pittsburgh, went back to school, got my bachelor's degree from University of Pittsburgh. I'm a UPitt alumni. And then I did a lot of other work. I'm originally from Ukraine, so I speak multiple languages, Russian, Ukrainian, etc. So I ended up working for the government for a little bit as a contract linguist. And then that's how I ended up in Maryland. And at one point, being a contractors, you can lose your job very quickly, and that's what happened
Right.
with me. And I was 8 months out of work. I couldn't find anything, and I finally walked into an interview, and I saw a lot of moving trucks outside. And when I saw that, I'm like, oh, I know what this is. So I walked in there. I got hired almost immediately, and in a month's time, I was selling the pants off their top sales rep. And as it says, the rest is history. So from
There you go.
2010 on, it's been moving nonstop. In 2008, a little bit before 2018, I was doing sales at the time for about three or four different moving companies.
In the
And
Pittsburgh area?
At that point in Maryland,
Oh, okay.
and at that point, the owner of the companies said, "Hey, you can do sales for 10 companies. You'll make a fortune." And we laughed about it, and I said afterwards, I went, "Huh." And I was thinking, well, I know I can't do sales for 10 companies, but if I hired a few guys and taught them to do what I do, And here we are, 8 years later. It's going to be 8 years for moving sales professionals in this year in October. And we've been doing booking ever since. So we do all the sales, um, we take all the inventories, we provide proper quotes, everything. At this point, I go to an event in Birmingham, UK every year for a moving conference. I'm going again in November. So people in the industry know who I am. At this point, moving sales professionals is the longest running such business in the call center space for moving industry. Nobody has been around as long as us. There's a couple of copycats. There's a couple of former clients that opened up call centers since that failed to disclose the fact that we were the ones doing their sales for them to begin with, and that's why they decided to open the call center because they saw that that was profitable. But ultimately, the goal was always to bring professional sales into the moving industry, which is what we did. And to the day, we only worked with companies that license, that care about their clients, that care about their brand. We don't deal with anybody that doesn't focus on providing a good product and providing good service. If we find out that that's what the company does, we walk away from the business.
Well, there you go. That's quite a story to get going, and quite a background from all over the place, going to LA to Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh to Maryland, and then
Sure.
being able to work internationally in Europe, England, the UK, it sounds like primarily. So you've
Yep.
got good market penetration, and you've got a team now that sells for you that you
Right.
develop.
Yeah, since
So,
2018.
all right, so with that team that you have, when you pursue particular clients, what's your sweet spot for customer acquisition?
Well, a lot of our business, just because obviously we work with C customers, but yeah, we're a B2B business ultimately. So
Right.
for me, a lot of things that are important, they need to take our advice as professionals because ultimately we want the companies to do well. And at the end of the day, since we get paid based on commission, if the company is not booking, things are not going well, we're not making any money.
Right.
So we're just as interested in companies succeeding as they are interested. Plus, it allows us to grow and things like that. So, companies that work out the best for us are companies that, in today's world, understand the benefit of social media, understand the benefit of building their own clientele, and understand the benefit of uh, growing things and providing quality service, being creative, doing things that other companies are not doing. It's That's one thing. The other thing is, of course, we're in the world where um, there is a lot of competition, and you need to come up with things that are unique. So you need to do something that others are not doing.
Right. You have to have a differentiator in some aspect so that you stand out from the group. So that being said, you have no geographical limitation. It sounds like you do it anywhere in the U.S. And as I
Right.
mentioned, in
Pretty much, other than, we don't have any clients in Hawaii. We don't have any clients in Alaska, but
okay,
we've had clients at this point. We've had clients probably in the majority of U.S. states. We may not necessarily have them all. It's kind of we have clients that have been with us for 6, 8 years, and then
and
we
you,
have clients that rotate. Companies coming in, companies going out. People need
you
to understand what this industry is, and a lot of people, when they start a moving company, they have a preconceived notion of what it is and what they should be spending, and that always doesn't always match the realities of the industry.
okay. So do you have people that you then contract with? For example, if you get a company in Wyoming and they need to make sure that, so they are the ones who provide the personnel, the trucks, and everything
Right.
else. And what you do is you deal with the end user, the consumer, to set up what's going to happen, or do they do that and you just provide the support for them?
So we do everything. So basically, let's say hypothetically speaking that you're looking for a moving company in Wyoming, and you get
Yep,
on Google, you find a company that seems legit, you pick up a phone, you call them. If that company is one of my clients, you're calling them, but you're talking to one of my sales guys.
got it. Okay, so then they get the call, then they take it from that point forward,
Yep.
trying to secure the business for
Yep.
that moving company. All
Yes.
right. So,
And we're not brokers, so we're not selling jobs to anybody else. We're booking jobs directly for the movers on the movers' behalf, with the movers' guys, with the movers' services, with everything that they're providing. So our whole thing is just basically we want to be as accurate as possible. So our
right.
goal is to get as thorough as an inventory, whether it's over the phone or through a video call or by setting a mover to come out and do an on-site estimate. But we go through that whole process. We want to be, frankly, I want to be able to sleep at night, and so do my guys. Having good salespeople, they want to feel comfortable with the product or with the service that they're selling. They don't want to
Right.
represent somebody that's going to swindle the people that they're spending all this time on out of their money. That's not how we work. We're not interested in that at all.
I've had two moves personally in the last 5 years, geographically going from Mississippi to Houston, then Houston to California.
Sure.
And I think I dealt with someone who may be in your space, probably not you guys. And they did their job and they give you your quotes and then all the other stuff. It was interesting the way it was handled. One person did a great job and I had a great customer experience. The other one basically left a whole bunch of moving parts out of what was going to occur. And that left me a bad taste. And that meant that company I would never use again because I thought it was obviously representative of that company. So when that happens, people look to find a good moving company. How do they find your company? Is it just the moving companies find you, not the end user consumer, but they find the moving company?
Right. Right, exactly. So we're a third party, so we're really behind the scenes, and we prefer to feel it that way. Like for example, we have other competitors that are out there that do similar work. Like I said, some of them, one of them, two guys used to work for me, and then another one is somebody that used to be our client that decided to open up a call center. So that's quote unquote two or of companies out there that we compete against. I don't consider the one with my former workers, honestly, I don't consider them a competitor because their service is not as good as mine.
There you go.
And but I think the main thing, we want to be a third party, but at the same time, one of the things that we do different is that we are there with your move every step of the way. So we're not just booking and you never heard from me again. No, we're there the entire time leading up to the move. You're talking to me if you have any questions. Day of the move, any issues, you're talking to me again. So that's how that whole process works. So the regular consumer has no need to see the difference between using us and using somebody else. But yeah, I mean, our goal is to be accurate always, and we want to provide proper information. What you were talking about with the experiences as you describe them, I can guarantee that one of those two was probably a broker. And the big problem with
I believe it
brokers,
was.
right? So that's the big difference. So the brokers, their goal is to book, 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 right? So, and the deposit that they're taking up front, whether it's 30% to 50%, and it's gotten really crazy because that's their cut. So if they're taking 50% off the top, let's say hypothetically speaking, let's say you have a very
$14,000 move, so it's
so
$7,000.
$14,000 move, $7,000 the broker is putting in their pocket. And now the mover that shows up, which you personally don't know if it's going to be an A-rated company, B-rated company, the brokers are the ones that are selling ultimately your business to this moving company, right? Now the moving company shows up at your move. Let's say hypothetically that all the information that you provided to the broker is represented correctly and it's accurate, right? Which, once again, with broker, that's not always going to be the case because their goal is to book, book, book. So they're notorious for lowballing quotes. They're notorious for leaving information out, and they're notorious for not providing proper information. So that's where the main issues with brokerages lie. Now, the second issue that lies, imagine that you're that moving company, and let's say the broker gave you information. Let's say they told you it's 1,000 cubic feet. Just to give you an idea, that's left roughly probably like a three-bedroom ish, two large 2-bedroom, small 3-bedroom type of size of them, for example, right? So let's hypothetically say that that's the information that they gave to the mover, and that's the price that they based it on. But in reality, you don't have 1,000 cubic feet. You have 1,500, 2,000, who knows, right? So the mover shows up. They're already 50% out because they're not getting that other $7,000.
And then they're pissed.
And then they show up. It's not so much they're pissed as they show up. They can't do this job for $7,000.
Right.
because it's a much bigger job. So now they are charging it based on the way that it should be charged, based on actual, right? Actual that's there. That's one problem. The other problem with brokers, they're generally basing the pricing structure on volume. So volume, you got to think of it this way. So if you were just moving boxes, then volume is something that probably will work for you, especially if those boxes are heavy, right? Because they're going to stack perfectly square in that tractor trailer that shows up at your house, right? But when you're dealing with furniture, they come different shapes and sizes. They're not made perfectly square. You're playing Tetris with furniture when you're stacking that truck.
Yeah,
So
watch it.
just because the inventory that you gave them comes up at 1,000 cubic feet, 2,000 cubic feet, whatever it may be, right? That's not how it's going to stack ever. It's always going to stack more than what the inventory gives you. Because the inventory, when you're putting it in, the system has averages of what
Yeah.
averages. But if you have oversized pieces, if you have pieces that are odd shapes, they're not going to stack like that, no matter what you do. You can have the greatest stacker in the world, and they're not going to be able to stack it that way. So, like, if you really want an accurate quote and you have a big move, you should be probably in your mind, you should be adding extra 20 to 30% more on the volume side
Oh, wow. Okay.
if you want an accurate number. And if you're overestimating, okay, that means you're probably gonna end up playing less. But then there's all these other fun things that brokers do and that volume quotes do. I personally, I mean, I can quote it any way you like, and I usually cushion when I do volume quotes, but I always preferred weight. And the reason I've always preferred weight is because you go to the scale, you weigh the truck twice, once empty, once full. The difference between two weight tickets is the actual shipment weight. And ultimately, the mover is not the one that's determining the cost of your move. The weight of your shipment determines it. Volume, how it's going to be stacked, that's how you're going to pay.
So, how do your moving companies, are you marketing to them either through social media, do you have a direct email campaign? How do you get your clients to want to work with you?
So majority for me, so first of all, it's a lot of word of mouth. Like I
Okay.
said, I've been in the industry for a long time at this point.
So,
All things
referrals.
together, off and on, 20 plus years. So people know who I am. And I go to US events. There used to be a big uh, quote unquote moving guru, Louis Massaro, that had his event every year. And I've been to that a few times. So a lot of people know me from that. But
All right.
I also, a few years back now, I think, what is it, year three or so, we started our podcast focusing specifically on the moving industry. So a lot of movers know me from that. So
Okay.
Let's Talk Moving is our podcast on YouTube. So you can look it up, and we talk shop about the industry. It's moving company owners, it's industry related people, whether it's marketing or sales or
Right.
some of the other stuff that they do. So that's mainly what we use for marketing. But it's a lot of word of mouth. It's a lot of referrals. It's definitely the podcast, and people come to me. And frankly, with podcasts, the whole idea is when you listen to me talk, I think you know that I know what I'm talking about
What you're
when it
talking
comes
about.
to this
Yeah.
industry,
A
right?
lot of
And that's
credibility.
mainly
Yeah.
what sells me. It's the fact that we have the knowledge, and we have that information.
Okay. So, you either go to seminars or you primarily do your podcasts or word of mouth referrals are the
Yes.
main ways you get your business.
Yep.
So when you reach and contact a client, gets in touch with you, and
Hmm.
now you engage with them,
Hmm.
from the time that you have the engagement to when you complete them saying, "I'm going to use you, Yuri, and your company," what's that selling cycle like?
Well, it's different. I don't think it's the same for everybody because first of all, the way that I approach conversation with any of these clients, it's not as hard of a sale. I explain to them what I do. I explain
Right.
why they should be choosing me. And then after that, we get to that point. Uh, some of them sign up with me within a day or two. And I love people like that because I can tell that that's how I know they're really serious
Right.
about getting their business to the next stage because the sales side is what they're really missing, right? But for me, when it comes to these type of clients, it's not at all about getting somebody on board today. I look at it as a marathon, not a sprint.
Okay.
I'm not going anywhere. I've been in the industry for a long time.
Right.
I feel comfortable. I'm good at what I do. I'm very good at what I do. So to me, it's just because you don't say yes to me today doesn't mean that you won't 2 to 3 years down the road.
There you go. All right. So now, as you look at the decision makers that you deal with, are they the owners of the moving companies? Who do you interact with?
Well,
In a
I
larger
prefer to talk
company,
to owners. I prefer
yeah,
to talk to owners because it's it's hard to deal with a marketing guy or a managing guy or somebody that is not going to be able to pull the trigger, because then you
right,
end up having these conversations end up being a lot longer than they need to be.
and
At the end of the day, when it comes to sales, what you got to understand is this: for moving industry, for anything in general, um, it's very hard to hire a good sales rep. Very hard, and there are very few, truly few professionals out there that I've personally seen over the years. I mean, I consider myself to be one of the top ones out there, I would say. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, so to speak, but I know what I see and I know what I hear. And to get to that certain point, it's very hard to find them. So you can either spend your money looking for these salespeople, you can have that advertising, you do that type of stuff, and you're going to spend a lot of money on it. You will. You
right.
spend a lot of money, you're going to spend a lot of time. That's how that's going to end up, you know, doing. Or you can hire us and we can start selling for you right away. Because the problem is there's also career interviews out there where they show up, they train with you for a week or two, you pay them for that week or two, and then when it comes to time for them to actually physically do the job, they're gone a week later. And you just threw $1,000-something out the window. And that
Right.
happens all the time. So if you
Well,
think about that money and what you're paying me, yeah, I may charge a little bit more than you're willing to pay off the bat, but the results are going to pay for themselves.
well, not only that, you have the ability, they're not having to hire you and pay benefits and all the other things
Right.
that they would for
Exactly.
somebody else. So there's an inherent advantage in what you do.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Absolutely.
so you've been doing this for 20 plus years.
Yes.
Obviously, you've seen the ups and downs of what can happen. How do you maintain like customer retention? How do you keep your clients? Is there a contract that they sign, or is it
Of
by the
course.
job or by a job?
No, no, no. We do a 6-month contract.
Okay, all right. And so at the end of the 6 months, is it re-up automatically, or
Yeah, it's
that?
basically month to month, or, if they give us a month notice, they can walk away if it's not working out for them. I mean, look, we're not going to be for everyone, and companies are not going to be there. Like we can't have somebody you we need to have a little bit of freedom to do what we need to do because we have just as much interest once again. But it's like sometimes you get owners, they need to have their finger on every single thing that happens. They listen to literally every conversation, and they're frankly up a salesperson's butt before the salesperson had an opportunity to get comfortable with their contract. If you keep doing that, it's not going to work, and we're going to be going separate ways sooner or later,
Right.
unfortunately. It's got to be a right match too. It's not like we're great for people that understand the benefit and that they let's say sales is not their thing and they
That
understand
that's
that
your
and they're
that's
fine
your
with that.
perfect fit.
But then sometimes you get somebody that sales is not their thing, but they're still trying to tell you how to do sales. And you're like, this is what you brought me for. This was
Right.
not your thing. But that's where we are.
All right. So when you maintain your customers, you're doing a good job. Where do you see the challenges for you to grow your business the rest of this year and into the next couple of years? Where's your biggest challenge?
I think the biggest challenge is economy and the fact that people that frankly just don't have as much money going around, and at the same time, all the costs for movers are increasing, so they can't decrease their price. They have to increase their price to stay in business. So it's reality. People need to understand what they have and what it costs to do what they have.
Yeah.
That's a big problem.
Are you seeing people moving residentially? Is that slowed up for you in terms of people aren't doing that
Um,
as much?
it's it's not so much that it's more people are still moving. We're definitely still seeing that. But the problem is that because of the way that the market is right now, you have companies that are panicking and dropping their costs, and that's too early because this is the busy time of year. You shouldn't be dropping your costs right now.
Right.
So for companies, you have companies that are panicking, they're dropping their costs, and that's affecting business.
Well, and then more importantly, they have to realize too that if they're just dropping their price, they're a commodity, and so they're going to get shopped by the client more versus sell the value of what they do, your team behind it, and everything else. If they're just trying to do it on a price-based basis, it's commodity. I mean, so therefore they're going to get shopped.
It is.
There.
It is.
Yeah. So as I can tell, your contractors are getting busy at work there. So we'll
Yep.
quickly want to ask you, as our 25 minutes just blew by here real quick.
Yep.
Tell me, how can people reach out to you, Yuriy, if they want to learn more about how to work with you?
They can reach me directly at Yuriy Margolin at movingsalesprofessionals.com.
Okay.
You
And-
can also set up, if you go to our website, which is movingsalesprofessionals.com, you can schedule a conversation through Calendly. We have a Calendly link on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how frequently, last question on your podcast, I didn't ask that. How frequently do you do your podcast?
Every Monday. Every Monday we air.
Okay, and that's more for talking to people within the industry primarily, and or is it educating people in the industry?
Yes, it's definitely designed for that.
All right, it's not necessarily
focus.
it's not a marketing tool to make revenue, but it's just more education and to have
Right, and we do. There is advertising space available on the podcast that you can certainly purchase.
Okay, well,
Sorry, it's getting crazy a little bit back here. I apologize.
that's all right, buddy. You did your best to try and get this in here before they went crazy, and I appreciate that. So at this point, guys, everyone knows how to reach Yuriy, and Yuriy's a busy man, you can tell. I want to thank you for being on today, Yuriy. Any other ways people can reach you if they have any other questions?
Like I said, email, website, Calendly. You can
And
find the phone
podcast.
number on the website and call as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm fairly available. The podcast airs every Monday, so it's
All right. Well, I've enjoyed it, Yuriy. I think the people who listen will enjoy it as well, and I wish you a great day and good luck with your construction.
Thank you, and once again, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
You're so welcome.
And like I always say, the world moves on its own, so let the professionals move yours for you.
I like that final line. Perfectly done. Thanks, Yuriy.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Principal Podcast. We hope you've learned valuable lessons and strategies to grow your firm and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.